You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live.
Hello, welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast. My name is Dan Robertson. I'm joined this afternoon by Matt Kendrick. Matt, you well?
Hello. Don't know why I just went into game show mode. Yeah, I'm fine, mate. You all right?
Yeah, not bad. Bit tired. It's unusual for us to be doing one of these at 4 o'clock. I feel like it's kind of delirious end of day, end of work shift time, isn't it, to be doing one of these?
Yeah, why are you so tired, Dan? Did you go out and win 2 competitions yesterday against your mate?
I had a couple of drinks and one darts, one bowling, and a couple of drinks just makes me sleep poorly. So I could have finished at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock this afternoon, to be honest, not still doing this at 4. So we'll see where this goes in the next 15 minutes or so. What are you shaking red for?
Just because drinking on a school night, it's not on,
it's rookie error, isn't it? Let's talk about Villa. And this is again one of our, like last Monday, I think we did the England versus club debate. So today's topic is transition. I think is probably the title I've gone with in the end. Building a team to get out of the Championship, building a team to stay in the Premier League, and then building a team to get into Europe, hopefully. And it feels like we're on that last part of that plan now. We're seeing players leave in Harahan. His contract's up now. Matty Target has obviously gone to Newcastle. Did a post there about Wesley. It's 3 years to the day that we signed him. The kind of this big spend 22 million on a player. He's the striker to build a side around, and he's barely played.
You mentioned Matt Target. It wasn't there from the beginning of the journey under Smith, but obviously played a part in the consolidation in the Premier League. Then, Wesley, I forgot Wesley even existed. And we're talking about people like Trezeguet. Looks like he's soon to be on his way. I think El Ghazi will be the same. There's even been speculation around Mings and McGinn. It definitely feels like a changing of the guards moment. But it has to be, doesn't it? If a football club wants to move forward, it needs to evolve. And I think the good thing about the players who are leaving, if you like, is they still go with our best wishes. Conor Harahan's been up there. In my lifetime, my Villa supporting lifetime, there's probably been 3 or 4 really, really strong goal-scoring midfielders, and you'd include David Platt in that, obviously. You'd include Ian Taylor in it. Include probably James Milner for a short spell of time. And after that, Harahan was the one who came along, albeit did most of his work at a lower level, but came along and did a brilliant job for us. So he goes with fondness. Likewise, I know there's been a bit of a kind of mock rivalry Villa Newcastle thing about Matt Target, but I think it was a deal that worked out pretty well for all parties in the end. We get rid of a player who we no longer need or want. They get rid of a player who's done a really good job for them and who they think can kick on even further. And the lad himself gets a chance to restore his confidence and with an exciting project up there. So I don't, sometimes revamps and restructures and rebuilds, a bit like, when we got relegated. It's a long answer to your question, by the way. A bit like when we got relegated, you were probably glad to see the back of a lot of that squad. This time, I think people are going with our best wishes, knowing that they've played a part in getting us back on the right track, really. You
said about Wesley kind of being the forgotten man, and just because it is the anniversary of his kind of grand unveiling of, I think he was a record buy, wasn't it, at the time, or I think Mings broke it, or Wesley was first and Mings after, or vice versa. But you kind of forget that he played this season as well. Picture of him and Mings that they played together, and you kind of think, Wesley's not been around since he did his knee in against Burnley.
When was that?
I think it was pre-season. I think he might have played in the first home game of the season potentially. But as far as in this kit, remember he got sent off in that pre-season game against Stoke, I think it was.
Oh yeah, I do remember that vaguely now.
That was only like a year ago, but I kind of think, we've not seen Wesley since Ben Mee did his knee in January 2020. But he has been around, and then he gets loaned out, and he was still up until again, I think Mings broke it, but until like Buendia when we break it again, he's one of our most expensive transfers in recent history, and for what?
I'm just checking out Wesley's stats from last season. Well, say stats. Just so according to this, he played 1 minute as a substitute for Danny Ings in the final closing stages of the 2-0 win over Newcastle. So I don't remember him.
No, it's mad, isn't it? You just kind of feel like you've forgotten about him. He won't have any future with Villa, and he'll be moved on. I think I said I put the post like he signed for 22 million. Somebody replied saying we'll be lucky to get 22p for him back in return, and it'll be one of them. Like his contract still runs till 2024, I think it is. I don't know what happens with him, but that kind of shows that we kind of build this side to, you've got this striker that comes in with decent pedigree from Belgium who doesn't really do anything, starts to have a few flickers of maybe there's something in there, and then gets a serious injury and will probably never play for Aston Villa again. And Villa kind of build the next season, and then here we are again, another summer, another transfer window, and another kind of generation of players coming through again.
Yeah, he's like an expensive Ali Samata, isn't he?
Yeah, basically.
It's weird, isn't it? I mean, this shows how spoilt we are as football fans, really, where we're all saying, well, which £30 million striker shall we get rid of this summer? Shall it be Ings or shall it be Watkins? And then there's poor old Wesley who's completely dropped out of our consciousness. But like I said, it's thank goodness that Villa are in a place now where we're competitive enough with our ambitions. We've got the financial wherewithal to go and back that up to a certain degree. Thank God we're not having to make do with players who, average players. To be fair, I mean, I don't want to make this the Wesley podcast. The first time I've thought about his name in the last minute since against Newcastle start of the season. Think about some of the kind of average non-goal scoring strikers we've been stuck with in the past. So I'm just glad we're in a place where we can strengthen and evolve.
Yeah, you kind of went through the main three of the ones I wanted to talk about anyway, in Wesley, Harahan and Target in your kind of mini intro bit. So we'll move on to Harahan because, again, it's something we've not spoken about since he's officially left. I think it always goes around that he was 3 million when he came in, but it was more like 1.5 million rising to 2 with promotion bonuses and things like that. And he came in at a time, I think it was 2017, at the January, where Villa were kind of no hopers for going up that season. Had already done a season in the Championship, kind of a mess really in terms of professionalism, and kind of changed that culture. I feel like he was one of the first players that comes in and brings that professionalism and sets the tone to an extent.
I think kind of Villa hedged the bets a little bit that window because they signed everybody, didn't they? I think they signed 6 players. Was that the
Hogan,
Neil Taylor, Bjornsson, Lansbury, Hogan, Harahan? Probably missed out another one.
James Bree
potentially as well, yeah. But it's weird, Harahan, because he's like, I think he brings some kind of efficiency in the way that he's so reliable from dead ball situations. But it's almost like a creative efficiency, which is quite a good, it's quite a good skill to have.
Good numbers for us.
Really. Had brilliant numbers. And I remember him scoring was it Norwich he scored a hat-trick against?
I think so.
A few years back.
Villa Park.
Yeah, and he's, obviously pinged that. I think my probably favourite memory of him, and I'm sure a lot of people will share this, is against West Brom. Actually ripped the roof off Villa Park, that goal. I think only Hurahan could have scored it, to be honest, because it was so, it was just crying out to be spanked home by him, and he obliged. So, yeah, I mean, fair play to him. He's come up through football the hard way, hasn't he? I think is he the one who's done through every division?
Yeah, there was a tweet, wasn't there? I think when we got promoted that he brought up of somebody saying he'll kind of never be a Premier League player, and he kind of went up through every division with Barnsley and then us. So yeah, I liked him. I think he got a lot of stick unfairly a lot of times in the probably his second season, full season with us. Villa kind of outgrew his ability. He was probably never going to be able to cut it in the Premier League. Obviously, he was there when we started up, wasn't he, in that Project Restart season and played his part. But if Villa want to push beyond that, then that kind of outgrows kind of Harahan. I think is 30, 31 now. I'm kind of semi-interested to see where he goes next. I still think he can do a job in the upper echelons of the Championship and maybe get another promotion under his belt. So, yeah, fair play to Harahan. And like I said, this kind of theme of transition comes in at a time, transforms Villa into a promotion side, and then goes with our best wishes. Yeah,
I've just remembered his goal against Blues as well, which is
obviously, obviously. That's what when he said, my favourite memory of him is I thought you were going to say is the Blues goal. Yeah, the Albion one was special as well.
I think it's just the Albion one because the significance. We could just feel ourselves getting a little bit closer. Beating Blues is just what we're doing.
Standard.
He's not been one of these ones who's kicked up a fuss. You know, he's made. You know, when he realised that he wasn't going to get a look in as a first teamer. You know, I think, as far as I know, he kind of handled it politely and said, I want to go and play football and went and played football. So, you know, he's the kind of player who, you know, when we look back in 30, 40, 50 years, I won't be around then, but when we look back in that amount
You never know.
You always see in that amount of time, when we look back, he probably wouldn't be, you know, in your kind of pantheon of Aston Villa legends, but I think he's in that kind of next tier of real kind of heroes and favourites.
I want to move on from him quickly because I know we don't have loads of time this afternoon. Because I want to log off, basically. Matt Targett, again, this kind of theme of transition of us kind of outgrowing a player to a certain extent. I mean, some people would still have argued up until certain periods last year that was Dean an upgrade on Targett. I kind of firmly believe that Dean is, all the way through. And it's one of those weird transfers where there's not really anyone that's missed out here. Like, we kind of made our money back. To a certain extent, we've lost out to. I feel like he's probably worth more. That we should be worth more than when we bought him. That he's played in the Premier League for 2 seasons fully. I think still a decent age. Like, for us to only recoup our money is a slight disappointment, but it's better than make. I mean, how many players in the last 5-10 years have actually made their money back on at least? Like, there's a lot of players that will lose loads of money.
Yeah, I imagine, Dan. I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I imagine that there's something built into the deal when he went out on loan. And I'm not sure. You know, Villa this summer looked to be in a strong bargaining position because he went up there, did a good job, helped them not only escape relegation but go kind of marching past us
above us.
So, you know, Villa probably could have said, "Oh, held out for a little bit more," but I imagine there's some kind of agreement in place that prevented that. And I presume, again, you know, great journalism here, just making assumptions and presumptions left, right, and centre. But I presume there's a decent loan fee as well for last season, which, if you factor that, you know, if that's a couple of million quid or whatever, you factor that into the transfer fee that we received. I think it's decent business. Yes, I take your point that he's been a Premier League regular for the last couple of seasons that he arrived. What did we sign him for?
I think we signed him for 15, but there's a lot of talk when you see transfer figures that they're never actually as high as you think. Player of the year, decent age still, English, played 2 seasons in the Premier League pretty much every week. I think that's 20 million in this day and age. So whether, like you say, there's a 2 million loan fee and a 13 million kind of obligation or option to buy, at a kind of a fixed price, so to speak. If you'd gone up there and been pretty average, you just said, 15 million, got our money back. But he went up there, played pretty well. They all really liked him. They wanted to sign him. So you kind of would feel like he'd be worth a bit more. But if this it was a pre-agreed price. Yeah, it's one of those ones where no one's really lost out. Newcastle have got their player. They seem to be pretty happy with him. He was happy to go up there. I did think that he probably wouldn't end up there and would maybe go back to somewhere like Fulham or even Southampton, and they'd be shopping in a window above Target's kind of level. But yeah, everyone wins with this transfer. And again, he goes with our best wishes. I feel like Luca Dean's a better player, so Villa are pretty happy as well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that most pleased me, because I'm a little bit of a pathetic, petty man, is that Villa announced the fee. It really annoys me when you don't see, when undisclosed stuff like that.
Yeah.
They never announced the season tickets with undisclosed on there. They normally put a value on there. So I like that. And whether that was because there was some rumours before the deal was announced that he'd gone for 12 million and Villa wanted to say, no, actually, we have got our money back. I don't know, but that's a precedent. Probably me as a nosy journalist more than anything, but that's a precedent that I like when people, just tell us exactly, the terms that people were sold for. So in terms of Target versus Dean, yeah, it's really early days, but what I will say is I don't wish to be too harsh on Target, but I used to get a feeling of nervousness sometimes with Target. Whether it was nervousness because I didn't think, this is probably when he wasn't alongside Grealish, because we know that when he got that partnership, that tended to flourish. But when Grealish wasn't there and Target was playing, I got the feeling that he kind of got a nosebleed when he went across the halfway line. So a little bit nervous, always playing it a little bit too safe. And equally defensively, we've seen on occasion where he's been ripped apart. You know, Traore is the obvious one against Wolves a couple of times and gone off injured at half time. I'm not saying there's a massive difference between them. I think Dean's better, slightly better attack. Well, much better attacking wise, probably slightly better defensively as well. But he just commands a little bit more confidence for me, Dean than Targett. But again, maybe it was a confidence issue for Targett. Maybe going up to a place where it's worked for him straight away and he's feeling the love of a big fanatical fan base up there. Maybe that's the thing that kicks him on, really.
Yeah, I think if you're say bottom 6, bottom 7 side in the Premier League, Targett is going to be a solid left back who will defend well and be pretty consistent all the way through. If you want to have more of the ball and the onus is on you to go and attack and get balls into the box, I'd rather Dean do that. And if Villa are going to be a better side and have more of the ball and have aspirations to be top 9, top 8, top 7, I'd rather Dean whipping balls in rather than Targett. The Targett's delivery was pretty good, to be fair. And Targett is a decent left back at Premier League level, which I feel like 15 million for that is a pretty good price for him.
Yeah, I'd say Targett 6 out of 10. I'd say Dean 7.
Yeah, I'm not saying Dean's this massively well-beaten, best left back in the league, but he's an upgrade on Dean. And like I said, everyone's happy and you kind of move forward. There was a picture that I saw that kind of sparked this whole kind of podcast idea of the pictures from promotion of all the squad kind of lifting the trophy, and it was in black and white, and there was only a couple of players left in colour that are still here. I think it was McGee and Mings, and I think Kalinic is still technically registered for Aston Villa, but I think so. I'm pretty sure he's still our player. I think Smith signed him, didn't he? He's kind of borderline anyway. He could be like 50% saturation, couldn't he, rather than fully black and white. He'll soon be gone, I'd have thought.
Is there something in the kind of transfer window terms and conditions that Villa must sign a goalkeeper every 6 months?
Jedstein and Courtney Hawes are still here, aren't they? But I don't think they were in that picture that I saw. But it's this big squad photo of everyone being in black and white now. That kind of just made me think, yeah, Villa have kind of moved on from that. And you kind of get this rotation of sides, don't you, that you kind of get attached to a player and they have 2 or 3 seasons and they're gone. I saw like a goal compilation of like Jonathan Codger. I thought, Jonathan Codger, like, what a throw about that is. And that was only like 4 or 5 years ago. Like, we've seemed to have this massive turnover of players in a few years, but it's because we've built these sides for trying to get ourselves up into the league. And now you're looking at like Matty Cash is scoring for Poland and Philippe Coutinho is scoring for Brazil as these international players we've got. And you think, they've come a long way very quickly.
Thinking about Codger, what a mad kind of couple of years that was. Because if you think about it, the strikers that we had in our championship days, we signed who were the best strikers, supposedly the best strikers in the championship. We signed McCormack, Codger, Hogan. We got Graben on loan. We got Tammy Abraham.
We spent some big money on players for where we were in terms of the league position.
We probably signed all of those because obviously Abraham had a spell actually in the championship as well, hadn't he? With Bristol City, I think. All of those must have been in the top scorers of the championship in preceding seasons.
That was our transfer ethos, wasn't it? Just, you've been good before. We assume you'll just come in and do the same with us, and it very clearly didn't work out.
What we're doing again on the world stage.
Yeah, fingers crossed it goes better. But yeah, just kind of sparked this. It is weird nostalgia, isn't it? I think Jake Bayliss wrote a piece for our newsletter today of like how Villa have got Joe can finally kind of put his stamp on Villa's new side because there isn't anyone kind of left over from previous successes really anymore, bar McGinn and Mings, who are still playing first team football, but maybe potentially kind of slowly replaced over the next 12 to 18 months or whatever. But yeah, you kind of look back through our photo archives and stuff and you see these names like Codger, McCormack, Hogan, Graben even. Like Graben gets promoted with Forest like recently, and you think, yeah, he was Villa's hopes for promotion at one stage with Steve Bruce, the manager, against Fulham, and you think, what a long time ago that was, and it was like 4 years. It's mad, really.
It's been crazy. We probably need to dig out the old, we've got it on file somewhere, the old, where are they now from the first game? Dimitar's first game in the championship.
Some of those names, I think, didn't Gary Gardner play?
Yeah, Galini and Gary Gardner and
Baker.
Alfie could have played, and Baker and
Tish Bowler.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Like, we've come so far in such a short space of time, and that's what you have to do really to try and progress, and you kind of hope that we're looking back in 2 or 3 years going, oh, Boubacar Kamara coming in and starting for us now. Like, look where we are now these days. So
it's a bit like going to think, it's a bit like kind of now we'll go to a West End show and we'll criticise the performance of some star actor. Then 5 years ago, some amdram down the town hall. So yeah, just after the usual thing in it. Doesn't mean that we can't dream and hope and want to kick on, but just a little bit of perspective from where we've come from in the last 4 or 5 years. It's going to be like another transition show in the next 4 or 5 years where we say, which of these Europa League winners do we think should be in Villa's Champions League squad going forward? Do you know what I mean? So,
that would be nice. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today's little mini podcast. We said we'd do 15, 20 minutes and we've done 25. So there's a little bonus bit of time for you. Just wanted to kind of go down memory lane a little bit of nostalgia that sparked in my mind from a few social media posts I've seen. So yeah, thank you very much for watching the podcast, Matt. Thanks for your time as always this afternoon.
No worries, get some rest. I'll go back to my spreadsheets and we'll do it all again soon.
Yes, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Keep your eyes on the Claret podcast feeds. We've hopefully got some more stuff coming up later in the week. And yeah, obviously if Villa sign a player or let anyone go, we'll come back and react to that news as well. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again soon. Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.